and welcome to UPGLO's Software Developer webinar. So just a couple of reminders, this meeting will be recorded. So just be aware of that. Please mute yourself during the presentation. And if you have any questions, please enter them into the chat room and we will address them towards the end of the seminar during that time. So we are really excited to be joined today by a very special guest all the way from Italy on his birthday. So thank you. So we'd like to introduce you to Federico. Just a quick background, he is a software engineer in Italy who came from a non-traditional background. So I'd love to let Federico introduce himself really quickly.
Thank you. Really, thank you for having me here. I'm really excited. I hope I can teach you something useful today. Yeah, my name is Federico Mannucci, but today I'm 26 because it's my birthday, so there's a mistake. And yeah, I become a software developer for a big company in Italy called Ion Group, from a non-traditional background because I haven't attended a bootcamp or studied for a computer science degree. As I don't even have a degree because I interrupted my education when I realized that my passion was coding and I wanted to learn how to code.
Awesome, thank you so much. So before we let Federico kind of talk to us, tell us about his experience and what helped him, we're going to just do a quick review of the Accenture data that we found, talking about different career pathways and different job titles. So I'll let Abel go ahead and take these first two slides.
Yeah, thanks, Yangham. And welcome to everyone that has joined us for this webinar. As Yangham mentioned, Accenture is a very key partner for Upwardly Global, and they carried out this really awesome research. And some of you might have attended the webinar that we had prior, where they presented the full report. But we wanted to take some time and share with you some insights and some data, specifically on the software engineering track. So, so this slide that you see is really a graphic to show you what kind of paths that you can take on the way to becoming a software engineer or even app developer. So one thing to keep in mind, obviously, it's not a fixed pathway. People become engineers or developers through all sorts of pathways. As Federico mentioned, and I think I saw someone in the chat that said that they're transitioning into tech from entertainment, And of course, we also know a lot of our job seekers come from different backgrounds into tech, but I think this is to show you from the research, generally speaking, these are the options that people take on the way to becoming software engineers or app developers. So we shall share this slide so you'll have time to look through. So I'm not going to go through each and every directional path. But for example, people can start out as web admins, go on to become a web developer, and then end up as a software app developer. It's also possible, actually, that people could go the other way around. Someone could be a software developer for systems, for example, but decide to move into computer programming. Or alternatively, someone can start out as a graphic designer and then move on to become a web developer and then go into software development. So this is really just a general overview to show you the different paths. I think one thing that we see that is more common, at least with some job seekers that I work with, that I have worked with, is I see a lot of QA engineers or QA testers moving up to become full software engineers or software developers. I think I tend to see that a lot. So anyway, so this is just to give you a general overview. You can always refer to the slide if you want to learn more. Yeah, can you go to the next slide? All right. So again, drawing from Accenture's research, I think this is really good information for you guys to kind of give you a sense of the trends in the industry. So if we focus mostly on QA testers, web developers, and engineers, this table gives an insight of what the industry looks like in terms of the average salaries, what you should expect to be making, and then what the projected growth is. So this salary that you see, the salaries that you see here are an average, and I think for this research, the reflection of the pay in main cities. So, you know, it could be slightly lower or slightly higher, but this is what they found in key cities in the US. For example, oh, okay, yeah, let me summarize this quickly, then we'll move on. You know, so for example, QA tester on average, you'll make like 90K. If we look here, the projected growth is really good, 11% growth in the next 10 years. So if you're a QA engineer, you know, the job market looks very promising. And then most jobs, we need a degree as an entry level. Of course, we know a lot of our job seekers come from alternative backgrounds, and we've seen that it's possible to still make the step into the industry without a degree. Key skills is very important to take a look at. As you can see, Selenium is a very top skill, right, that I see a lot. You see SQL, you see Java. If I drop quickly here to web developers, about 99K average salary, good, strong projected growth, about 19%. Again, top skills, you see JavaScript there and Java. And then the bottom two that you see here, software development for systems, and then software development for apps. Both of them, you can see average pay is over 100K. That's really good. Again, from my experience, I have seen some people that have earned less than this, especially if you're just getting into the industry. So, you know, if you're interviewing and they're offering you less than this, we don't want you to be like, no, I want my 100K. You know, this is just to give you your, you know, overall snapshot of what the average is. Very strong projected growth, especially for applications developers. You know, almost 36% projected growth in the next 10 years. That's quite, you know, really, really good. Key skills, you have Oracle, you have SQL, you have Java. I think this is important for some of you that are thinking about reskilling or taking trainings, what kind of trainings you should be thinking about. You might already know that we have partnerships with Coursera, Udemy, where you can take some of these courses for free. So anyway, so that's really just a general snapshot. I encourage you to take a look at this content in depth when we share the presentation. And yeah, at the end of the presentation, probably we'll take some questions, but I'll let Yangham talk about the next two slides before Federico comes to share his experience. Thanks.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Abel. So if you look at this next slide, I won't go too in depth with the information here, but basically it lays out some common job titles for each position. So if you're having a hard time finding, for example, a web developer position, some other job titles you can search are listed there for each category. So for software QA engineers, you can look up QA analyst or QA engineer, software test engineer. For web developers, you could also search for front end or UI developer or UX designer. For software developers, you can also search for software engineers, .NET developer, DevOps engineer, Java developer. And as you can see, the job market is very strong. Depending on the region, there's more job postings than other regions, but you can see the demand for each of the 4 regions that UPGLO mainly serves. Some top employers listed below there. You'll notice that some of the certifications requested include a security clearance, but do keep in mind that that is mostly for the DMV region. So if you do live in the DMV region, be sure you take note of some of the security clearances. And as you can see at the bottom, it shows you some of the technical skills that are required or that the job postings are asking for. So like Abba mentioned, for the technology for QA testers, Selenium is top up there, SQL, Java, Atlassian, and Python. And then for web developer, you see some of the common trends. So JavaScript, Java, React, HTML, SQL, Python. So just as Abba mentioned, if you're planning to reskill or continuing to upskill, these could be helpful in terms of what area, what language you want to continue to develop. And here is just a couple of different training opportunities for you to take advantage of. But I am sure that Federico will have a lot more to share from his own experience. So without further ado, I would love to now let Federico begin his presentation. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to start sharing the screen.
All right, one second.
Okay. Okay. Fantastic. Okay, I wanted to start with something interesting. Does anyone of you know what this is? Please feel free to raise your hand to speak if anyone knows about this. Okay. I'm gonna assume no one knows about this. This is punched cards. And before, like in the 1950s, oh yeah, some people are writing chat. Oh, I cannot see the chat.
Yeah, we see Bolano says punch cards.
Yeah, exactly. Well said. Yeah, as I was saying, in the 1950s, they used this to program. Programmers themselves would write their programs, give them to the operator. The operator will punch the cards, and then during the night, will test the program, will execute the program, and give the data back to the developer. So you can imagine how terrible it was. If you made a single mistake, you had to do everything by the start. And so just to say how different nowadays is. Nowadays, I believe that it's the best time ever to learn how to code, because you can easily do it on your browser, you can do it on your phone, you can easily get access to a computer. So really, there is a lot of sources, documentation, people willing to help. The community for me has been fantastic. So you can find people willing to help, you can find fantastic sources. So if you are interested in programming, if you're interested in finding a job, I think that's a great idea to really try to really do your best, try to start learning, find the sources, and do your best. It's a great chance, it's a great opportunity. And another thing I realized is that not having a degree in computer science, not having a bootcamp certificate, sometimes it missed me some opportunities. Of course, it would have been easier if I had a computer science degree, engineering degree, but this field is very meritocratic. And at the end of the day, if you're able to do the job, then you're gonna get an opportunity, then you're gonna get the job. So it's all on you to learn to do your best, whether you have a bootcamp, whether you do it on your own, whether you have a degree. So yeah, this first slide, it's about some of the great resources. There will be other resources, many links at the end of the talk, so don't worry. Free Code Camp, Code Academy, Khan Academy, Sollearn. Personally, I started with Sollearn because it was very convenient. I could code on my phone, and I don't suggest that, but at the beginning it was very nice for me. It was very nice to get started and learn the syntax. Okay, now about, I think a lot of you would know Stack Overflow, and it's like a forum where a lot of people ask their questions about programming, and it's populated by a lot of developers and yeah, professional in the sectors with a lot of years of experience. So every year they have this survey, And I think it's very, very valuable because, as I said, there are people with many years experience, with a lot of knowledge. So knowing their point of view, knowing their expertise is very important. And one thing that I wanted to take away from this survey is how different, how varied the field is. As you saw previously, as it was well explained from Abel, is that the web applications and are very, very web and mobile applications in general are very, very popular. And for this reason, JavaScript is absolutely the first language, because JavaScript is very versatile. You can use it to make web in the front end. So what you see in the back end, so the part that processes information, you can also use JavaScript to create application for your phone. So JavaScript is always present. The same way HTML, CSS, it's used for presentation, so it can be used for website and apps. So, but going from that, then there are many different things. For example, SQL. I think you know how important data is for social medias, for companies, for advertisement. So knowing how to use SQL and database is super relevant. Python is very versatile. You can use it for data. You can use it for machine learning. Use it for website backend, and so on. And what I wanted to say is that there is a lot of choices. There's a lot of opportunities. You can find something that you like. You can find something that fits you. So you can type, for example, in my personal path, I tried front-end development, so using HTML, CSS, JavaScript, but it wasn't really for me. I tried using Python for machine learning, and I thought, wow, machine learning is super cool. I love it. But honestly, it wasn't really my field. I found it boring because you have to wait for the models to train. In the end, I ended up using mostly Java, and I'm a Java backend developer. So it's all about trying. It's about testing different things. There are some things that are more popular, but if you are good at what you do, you will find an opportunity. So just pick something that you like, use it, become good, and do your best with it. So I think this is very important. And that's another thing that many of you probably know, is the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's something from psychology. It's the idea that people are not aware of their own ability. So, for example, a lot of people think they know everything. They're an expert of a sector. Instead, they're just at the peak of Mount Stupid. They don't realize what they are still missing. So they think, oh, I know everything, because they don't know what they don't know. And it's very common for someone starting to learn anything, especially programming, of course, because it's very difficult, it's very demanding, to end up in the peak of Mount Stupid, feel like, oh, I'm doing great, I'm learning a lot, I can do everything, and then realize how much you miss, how much you still need to learn, how much you don't understand. And this is where you end up in the valley of despair. And this is a very trying moment. I have been through that, and at those points you start to feel like, oh, I'm probably not the right person for this role. I'm not the right person to write code. It's not for me. But yeah, so this is common. This is unfortunate. But I just wanted to say that it's really common. You might end up, maybe you already have been there, maybe you're already out, but you'll be there in many situations in your life, and it's just normal. Don't take it as a sign that it's not the right job for you. Just take it as the normal part of learning, a normal part of becoming from know nothing to a guru. So I think at this point I'm around the middle. I'm slightly rising. I feel a bit confident, but there is a lot to do. So it's normal for everyone. It's a path. You just have to go through it. Okay, speaking of what you need to learn, speaking of learning, speaking of doing courses, once you have some good foundation, I suggest everyone to start learning through doing projects. I think it's very helpful, because if you try to do something that you like, you're interested in, for example, you have an app idea or you have a website idea, that's really gonna push you to learn more, to do something great, something that you like, something that can be helpful, something that can maybe start a new company. Like once you know how to code, you're just a good idea away from being an entrepreneur. You can just create your own website, you can create your own app, and you can go. That's for something that I really love about programming, that gives you that kind of freedom. So yeah, put a lot of emphasis once you're at that stage. Put a lot of emphasis on finding projects that you're interested in, starting them, and completing them, and getting good in that way in that area. So just to say, LinkedIn, sorry, a GitHub profile. This is mine, of course, and there are many ways to make it more interesting. For example, I've created all these repositories. When you open the repository, there is a README, which is a file that introduces the project. So if a recruiter sees my GitHub profile, he can enter inside the project and see explained everything about the project. So it's something easy for them to get accustomed to what you can do, to what you're interested in, and yeah, to show what you've done, to show what you learned. Okay. Now let's say that you have gone through this, you have learned, you have done your projects, you have got in touch with the interviewers, you got an opportunity for a job. Let me say before that there are, for a job, usually there are many different job boards. I have some links at the end of the presentation, but anything works, LinkedIn, Indeed, Monster, Flex Jobs. There are many different boards, and those are good for applying to jobs, but also it's very important to have connections, to know people, to know, to show people how good you are. So maybe they can give referral, they have an opportunity, they can give it to you. So it's very important to, of course, go through job boards, but also try to maintain a community. And I suggested some other links for some nice communities at the end as well. And so let's say now, finally, I've done all my job, worked so hard, I finally got through an interview. And this is very important because at the beginning, it's when you just started learning, where you don't have a lot of experience, you just started learning on yourself. It's very hard to get opportunities because people don't want to bet on someone that doesn't have that that kind of experience already. So it's very important when you get chances at the beginning that you do your best, that you really take them. And yeah, once you have 1 or 2 years of experience, it becomes so much easier. People, I don't have that much experience. I have 4 months in my current role, and it's my only really relevant role. And I get 2 messages, 3-4 messages a week on LinkedIn from recruiter. So yeah, the field is not it's really growing. They need a lot of people, but they are looking for people with experience. So if you at the beginning you're struggling to get your first position, don't worry, it's all downhill from there. So yeah, let's say you get your interview. Usually coding interviews are based, they'll often ask you a question on your specialized fields. So if you're doing web development, they're gonna ask you about JavaScript and HTML, CSS, those kind of questions. If you're doing Java backend, they're gonna ask you about object-oriented programming. They're gonna ask you what you did previously, all these kind of things. But these kind of things you can, these are simple question that you can study, you can understand, you can memorize. So there are many links, there's so many resources that you can just look for most common backend questions, most common front-end questions for interview. That's easy. What's more difficult, I think, is when you're asked to solve a code problem. In a technical interview, you're asked to solve a coding question. For example, I showed this book, Cracking the Coding Interview, because it's a great source and explains how to solve difficult coding questions that are asked from Amazon, Facebook, Google. So there are some of the best companies for developer to work in that really value developers. So yeah, have a look at the book, have a look at the links at the end. It's worth studying, even if the questions are difficult. If you get a good opportunity, it's a waste to not be able to afford it because you didn't study these kind of questions. But in general, all coding questions, whether difficult or easy, they start with a question. Don't let them ask questions about the problem. When you're given the problem, don't just accept it at face value. Ask questions about it. Ask your interviewer to define edge cases. Ask a clarification. The important thing is that you're not surprised by anything. You have considered everything. You are ready, and you can start thinking about the real solution. Propose a solution and discuss it. This is very important. You shouldn't just go and start coding. You should discuss with your interviewer, start a conversation, and ask them, what do you think about this solution? Do you think it's good? And then explain, oh, it's fast, or it takes that much memory. And so once you show that you really understand what you're doing, you're just not just coding and see how it goes, you're really understanding, you really think about it. And so if there is a problem with the solution as well, the interviewer can tell you, no, this solution is not fine. Can you find another one? Or yeah, please go on and code it. Then of course, write the code. And yeah, this is the straightforward part, but it's not the first part, it's the third part. So you must do, you should ask a question about the problem, you should propose a solution, then you should code. And of course, try to keep communicating with the interviewer and explain the difficult part that they might not be able to follow. Then review step by step. If you know about debugging, the idea of debugging is going through each line of the code step by step and finding what the code does. You should do the same whether you have a real debugger in an IDE or you're doing it on paper or you're doing it on a whiteboard. You should really do it line by line to try to find any mistake and show the interviewer that you care about what the solution is doing. You're not just trying, you're actually still thinking about it and you're considering everything. And after finishing that, at the end of it, in general, during the whole interview, keep communicating. It's very important. It's just to say that, for example, in Google interviews, 25% of your final grade is communication. So communication is incredibly important. It's something that you're really evaluated about because once you work in a engineering team, you will need to communicate with your colleagues. So show that you can communicate, keep communicating. If you're making mistakes, still communicate and give the interviewer the opportunity to help you, to give suggestions. And so yeah, keep this communication open. It will be really helpful. And also really helpful. It was really helpful in my interview because I made a big mistake in the code that made the program not really function as intended. But I kept talking about possible other implementation with the interviewer, and in the end, I realized, oh, actually my implementation was bad. This other implementation would have worked correctly, and the interviewer, yes, you made a mistake, but you realized it, and that's very valuable. Okay, this slide is about me talking with one of my managers that was responsible for the hiring committee, and I asked him, okay, what is something that you really need in a developer, especially a junior figure? What is something that you cannot do without? Is really necessary? And yeah, I was expecting something technical. For example, looking at the slides, I was expecting, oh, 70% JavaScript. So yeah, they probably will need JavaScript. Everyone will need JavaScript. Instead, he surprised me when it was like, when he told me, actually, no, that's nothing like that. What is most important is one, eagerness to learn. If you're just starting a position and you're not really interested about the subject, then there's really no point. It's understandable if you been doing this for a lot, you know it is very well. But if you're starting, you should be willing to learn. You should be willing to go farther. You should be willing to, on the job, accept that there are a lot of things you don't know. There are a lot of things that you will need to know. So that's something really necessary. Curiosity as well. You should be curious. You should like what you're doing. You should be willing to study it and acquire new knowledge. And this is fundamental. Desire to test themselves. Same thing. If you start, you don't have a lot of knowledge, you should be willing to go through things that you don't know, test yourself, and even if you might make mistakes, it's okay. At the end of it, you will know something else. If you know something better, you will have more knowledge. So this is very valuable. You will be you must be willing to, okay, I'm gonna try. It's okay if I fail. It's okay if I make mistakes. I'm gonna learn something from it. And so yeah, it really surprised me because it told me basically this: our skills can be learned on the job. The right soft skills and attitude are much more important. So I hope this is important for you. Really value your soft skill. Really value your curiosity, your eagerness to learn, and also many other important soft skills, your communication and the way maybe you have experience interacting with clients. One thing that many people don't value once they look for a developer job, they think, oh, what I've done previously doesn't matter because now I need to write code. that's completely not the case. So if you have an experience dealing with customers, if you have an experience managing a business, if you have any kind of experience, show it, talk about it, and value it, and they will value it because it's valuable. So don't forget what you've done before, don't forget your experience, and keep valuing it. Okay, so this was most of my presentation. Then there is also some more closing advice that I would like to give you, and that was very valuable. It was very important to me during my studying process, while I was studying, while I was learning how to code. I started learning how to code just before the pandemic started, and about September, October, yeah, so some months before. And most of my learning was done during the pandemic, so we were stuck at home. So it has been very difficult. It has been very trying for my relationship, my mental, my physical health. But it has given me the opportunity to take my time and to really learn. So yeah, take the opportunity. Even if this time is very trying, it's very difficult. Still, we have an opportunity to have this time to learn, to improve ourselves, and to be better at the end. And so take care of your physical and mental health. It's absolutely important. It's very, very important. The Latin said mens sana in corpore sano, which means healthy mind in a healthy body. And this really worked for me. I try to keep healthy. I try to exercise every day. And there are many studies that prove that if you do physical exercise and you keep yourself healthy, you will be able to perform better mentally as well. So weirdly said, if you want to be a better developer, take half an hour less studying and do half an hour more of exercises. It's really helpful for you. It's gonna do wonder for your mental health as well. If you feel stuck, take some time off. It's really important because there are some problems. Let me start by saying that you will get stuck at some point. There will be some things that you cannot resolve, that you cannot solve, that you cannot understand right now. It's very common. It's part of programming. It's part of learning something new, and it's something you have to accept. You have to accept. Okay, I'm gonna be stuck. Okay, many times I'm gonna feel stupid. It's okay. All mistakes I do, all things I don't know are things that I will be able to learn, are things that I will be able to know, especially if you are able to learn from your mistakes. This especially for things that you don't understand right now, it's okay. Take some time off, think about it, let the problem sit in your mind. It often happens to me that I'm struggling with some problem. I sleep over it in the morning, and I have the solution just there. Just that my mind had the time to think about it, to in the background, let's say, and come out with a solution. So yeah, it's really important. Don't focus too much on things that you're not able to do right now. Take your time, improving other things, come back on them, and you'll see that you have improved, and you'll see that now you can do it, or maybe it's just giving you your brain time to process it. This is the best thing I've ever learned, is that consistency is the key to become good. This is absolutely everything, applies to absolutely everything. It's very important, especially when you're trying to tackle something so big like software programming. There are so many things that you need to learn. There are so many areas, there are so many technologies, there are so many things that you're expected to know as an experienced programmer. And the only way to tackle all of these is studying one thing one by one, taking your time to understand, taking your time to get good at it. So yeah, one example that one thing I always often say is that it's better to take some time of your day, one or two, do how much you can of your day to study every day, instead of just okay, I'm gonna spend my whole weekend, I'm gonna spend 12 hours a day on programming. It doesn't really work. You should try to take some time out of your day. If you can take more time, it's better, of course. I think more than 8-9 hours, it doesn't really work. It's a bit counterproductive. But yeah, try to do it every day. Be consistent. If it's okay if you take a day off, if you need it off, but as much as if you can do it consistently, it's way better, definitely. One last thing is that no one does it effortlessly. programming is very difficult. Don't trust anyone that tells you, oh, for me it was easy, or no, I understand it easily, I have no problem with it. Many people tend to forget how difficult it was to learn how to program. So if you're having difficulties with it, if you're struggling, it's completely normal. It's very, very difficult. At the beginning, you won't be able to do most things. And then it's just a matter of time, it's just a matter of effort, it's just a matter of consistency. If you put the hours in, if you put the effort in, if you do it consistently, then one day you will realize how far you've gone, how much you've learned, how much better you are, and this is very valuable. Don't give it as an assumption that it's me, I'm not understanding, it's me, I'm not good at it. No one, it's not easy for anyone. So take your time, do your best, and you will see how far you can go. Okay, I want to leave you with a quote that really helped me, and thank you. I hope it can help you as well. Okay, and these are all, some of the all the links to resources. I've used all of them. They've been all helpful to me, and some are different levels, some are for different people. Feel free to contact me at the end. The LinkedIn profile is my LinkedIn profile is in the last slide, and ask me what, tell me what is your level, what you're looking for, what do you need, and maybe I can send you to the right resource for you. Yeah, these are all great, all suggested, and good luck, and thank you for having me here. Thank you for listening. I hope it was helpful, and feel free to contact me, feel free to add me on LinkedIn, feel free to write me. I'm always happy to help, and I'm always happy to talk, to have a chat. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Federico. I think all of the information that you shared is really valuable and helpful. So I did want to leave, we have a few minutes just to go. If anyone has any questions, we'll be monitoring the chat room. So feel free to write any mess or any questions that you have. And then we did have a couple questions that maybe we could kind of use to get the conversation started. So for you, Federico, what, I guess, how were you able to showcase your skills in order to land your first tech job, seeing that you came from a non-traditional background, and what was the best way where you showed your ability?
Okay, yeah, this is it's kind of funny that actually the way I've landed my first job, it was thanks to luck, because I was in Angel List, which is one other resource that I showed it, that is for startups, and the founder, and that's one of the founders that nowadays is working as a recruiter of the company, saw my profile, liked my profile, and sent me a message. We started talking, and even if the position was only for graduate with a college degree, and he liked my attitude, he gave me an opportunity. I did well in the coding test, and I got the role. So yeah, it's also about luck. It's also about getting connections, and so that's why I've left some links to social medias as well, because it's important to make a good LinkedIn profile. Show, for example, yeah, it's very important that if you have a good, nice LinkedIn profile. I received many offers there still nowadays. Still, if I have I still have my, now I have my switch off for, I'm not looking for offers, but they still send me stuff, they still send me opportunities, because I spent some time working on my profile, linking my GitHub. So yeah, I was saying as well, GitHub, it's very important. You can showcase your projects. So yeah, if, for example, one important thing that you should do, if you don't have a lot of experiences already in your curriculum, you should add your favorite projects with the GitHub link. So any recruiter, anytime they receive your curriculum, they can look at them, and they can evaluate your skills. So that's one great way to do it.
Awesome. Yeah, ma'am, I think we have a question in the chat. I saw a question from Pavel, and Pavel is asking you, Federico, what learning strategy are you applying when you're learning new stuff?
Yeah, there are many ways that you can improve your learning. Personally, there is a fantastic course that I haven't linked, but I'll add it. I will send it to you. I will add it in the chat before I leave. And it's learning how to learn. That's on Coursera. That taught me a lot of important things on how you remember things and how you learn. And the most important things I learned from that course is that um, repetition through time. So if you really want to remember something and understand it as well, you should see it one time, then maybe review it again the day after, then see it again the week after, see it again the month after. And if you do this, you're gonna build a strong foundation in your mind for that topic, for that thing, and it's gonna be much easier for you to remember it in even years from then. And that I can testify that really works. For example, doing coding exercises, I I can't remember details. I can't remember small things. For the love of me, I cannot do it. But I managed to memorize a lot of syntax because I use it daily. I use it daily for exercises. I use it daily for my work. So I just remember it because I keep using it.
Awesome, thank you. And I think we have another question from Mesfin asking about the experience question in an interview. So when they ask you about your experience, how did you approach that question?
One thing that I did to not feel behind, let's say, is that I tried to do some internships. They were not paid, and sometimes it wasn't a great experience. But if you have something to put there, some experience to talk about, that really helps because it shows that you not just started doing this, and there is some reassurance for them that you have some experience, that you did it, that you worked with a team. So that would be very helpful. Even doing for some voluntary work, there you can find it on LinkedIn. There are many offer of volunteer work, so you can try that as well. If you can add something about something else, that's great. I also was talking before about previous experience and different careers. I previously worked for almost 1 year in Lisbon for Cognizant, a tech company. And yeah, I talk about that experience. I talk about its importance in my soft skill, communication, and it taught me how to work in a corporation. It was very important. So yeah, put value on your previous experience, even if it's not strictly a developer experience.
Awesome. Next question from Igor. What do you think about mentoring? Is it effective?
Yeah, it's great. It's really, really good. For example, a course that I suggest everyone does, it's first in my list of resources. Yeah, CS50. CS50 is a fantastic course. I did it during started during the pandemic, and it was very challenging for me. It was very difficult. I had to work a lot to do it, but it was very valuable. Then I suggested it to my friend, and after doing it, my friend is a doctorate student in Italy for chemistry, but he actually wants to change his field as well. He wants to become a developer when he finishes a doctorate. And I suggested it to him, and whenever he had a problem, we worked through it together. We would discuss it. I would never give him the solution straight up because he wants to learn, he wanted to understand. But only having me to rely upon, to ask questions, to clarify doubts, he breezed through the course very easily. So I was a bit jealous, like, oh, you're doing this so easily. And that's like, no, actually, it's thanks to you. Thanks to you, being able to rely on you, it's very valuable. It's really helping me, and it's making everything easier. So yeah, if you get the opportunity to have a mentor, if you know someone that can help you for free, or even paying someone with experience that is able to help you, that's very helpful. That's really you have to do the work on your own, but it will boost whatever you do. It's a great experience.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Federico. I see another question here from Dimitri, and he's asking what would be your advice about mistakes job seekers should avoid?
Mistakes job seekers should avoid. Okay, it sounds a bit silly, but I really believe this, that the only mistake that you cannot do is not learning from your mistakes. I've done so many mistakes. I've had so many bad impressions, so many horrible experiences, but I've learned from everything. And there were periods where I really felt I was a failure, but now I'm looking back. I'm really proud of myself. I'm really proud of what I've accomplished. I feel very accomplished in my life, and I feel through a great trajectory because I have learned from everything. So yeah, especially when learning how to program, it's very common to do mistakes. You're gonna do mistakes. About mistakes in the job search, one thing that, yeah, as I said previously, that you should try your best to seize any opportunity. If you get an interview and you bomb it because you weren't prepared, if you, I don't know, you weren't sure about what you would have been asked, that's really hard on you. That's a really bad experience. I had this kind of experience for sure, but especially when it's hard to get interviews, it sucks. So when you get the opportunity, the best thing that you can do is be prepared and show how much you love the programming, how much you studied, how much you are prepared, and what you can do, and try to impress them. That's my best advice for an interview.
Awesome, thank you. So we do have a couple, maybe another question that we came prepared with. So for those who are just now getting into programming, from your experience and from what you've seen, what are some programming languages that you would recommend people to, for those who are new to coding, and which ones to focus on?
Yeah, as shown in the previous slides, JavaScript is very common, and it's you can do it. It's nice because you can really do it, do everything with it. So if you want to do backend development, you can do it. If you want to make your app, you can do it. Website, you can do it. So that's really great, and it's really valuable to know. But it tends to be, there are some parts that are very difficult to grasp. So the basics, you can understand the basics, but some parts are difficult, are a bit deceiving. So it can be, yeah, it's very useful, but maybe it's not the best language to start. Personally, I think that best language to start is Python. It's still my favorite language, even if I work in Java. It's the language I use for coding exercises. It's very clear. It's very simple. The whole idea of Python is to be as close as spoken as possible. So when you read a Python program, many times it seems that you are explaining the code, not reading actual computer program. So yeah, I would say that Python is a great choice. The JavaScript is still a good choice, but a bit more challenging. Then you can also try to go for something more rigorous, more difficult, like C and C++. Once you learn those, you really understand what's going on. They really show things that with Python and JavaScript are hidden, but they're nice to know. They're really nice, they're important. And I'm really happy that I learned the C as well, because I understand so much more about Python that otherwise I wouldn't see.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, I don't think if we don't have any more questions from any of our participants, I would like, Federico, if you could just part us with one last piece of advice or word of encouragement for our job seekers.
I don't know. The thing is that this field is so vast. There are so many things to know, and so many advices that I tried my best to condense a lot of my knowledge here, but there is so much left to say. But yeah, one thing that is important to know, I think, is that this field, it's really important for you to be always willing to learn new things, and never to just sit down and wait. Even people with years of experience, they're still learning on the job. They're still studying new technologies. There are a lot of new things coming out. So you approach the field of programming with the idea of lifelong learner. If you like learning, if you like new challenges, if you like new experiences, programming is fantastic, because there always will be new experiences, there always will be new technologies. And so yeah, be open, be really open to any opportunity, and try your best. And as previously said, only that what is in common to all successful people is the effort that they put behind their work. So do your best, and you have this opportunity to achieve success.
Awesome. I also just wanted to point out, Federico, that I saw in the chat that Pavel mentioned that he wrote a blog about this book that you suggested, Learning How to Learn.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sounds like, you guys are on the same wavelength. So he put a link.
That's great.
Well,
Thank you. Thank you very much.
we can share that. So one final question that I feel like, might be a lot of job seekers might relate to. You talked about, that valley of despair when things are not. And you talked about exercising, and a healthy mind leads to a healthy physical body. What were other strategies in the process that help you to deal with that phase when things seem like they're not going your way as fast as you'd like them to?
Okay. Yeah, this is really important. And actually, I faced this kind of valley of despair recently when I started working at my job, because I really felt I was unprepared, and I was really scared of making mistakes, of making a bad impression, especially because I started with other people, and I have about 1 year of experience in programming by myself, and the guy that I started with has a master's degree in computer science. So I really felt, oh, I have something important to prove. But something that takes you out that valley of despair is finding the right challenge for you. So of course, if you're trying to build your own website and you just started coding, you're gonna hit a brick wall, because you miss so much there is so much that you don't understand. So you have to find the right challenge. That is, it should be challenging. It should be difficult for you. It should be something that you don't know yet, but it's just out of your reach, so that if you work for it, you can reach it. And find these kind of challenges, and then succeed at it, then be able to do it. And once you start succeeding, once you can start building on your successes, and you can build on your confidence. What brought me out of this valley of despair at work is that they tasked me with something. Okay, I think I cannot do it. I'm scared. I start working on it. I do it again. Oh, I don't know nothing about this. It's difficult. I'm gonna make a bad impression. I work on it. I do it. If you keep working on something, if you keep finding these challenges and surpassing these challenges, then you build on your own self-esteem, and you'll realize, oh, I'm actually learning, I'm actually doing it. All these things that I thought I wasn't able to do, now I'm doing in them. All these things I previously didn't understand, now I understand them. So yeah, find the right challenge, build on your successes, and keep going forward. It's like a ladder. Keep walking up. Some steps are going to be difficult, but once you have stepped on one, you are higher. You are better. You have improved.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's I think a lot of our job seekers will find that helpful, and really thank you for making the time on your birthday and sharing all these very useful information and tips.
Thank you. I really hope it was helpful. It was really nice. I really enjoyed this, and honestly, I was really nervous, but it hasn't been so bad. I think it was a great presentation. I mean,
yes. Sorry, guys,
it.
but it's not so big challenging. So big challenge. It's if you're more old, like me, 45 years old or more, yeah, and you have not so many chances to show how good your experience. Yeah, these recruiters only look on your age. Okay, goodbye. That's all. That's my experience.
I value that. That's important. That's true. I realize that. And this is another thing about programming that I think is valuable, is that you can work on your own. If you can do freelancing jobs. If you get some knowledge. No, really. If you get some knowledge,
you don't know really this situation from my side, because yes, the next question about, okay, you have experience. Do you have a local experience in the United States? No, sorry, I'm sorry. That's all. I have this experience.
I understand that.
Real pain in the ass. Yeah.
I really understand. I'm really sorry for you. And of course, I have my privilege, I have my luck, for everything. But really, there are some websites where you can, I have no experience of that, but I know a lot of people that did it, where you can make your freelancing profile. You don't have to show your age, you just show your work. And if you get clients, it's based on your work. So there are opportunities. What I'm saying is that it's I understand it's much more difficult for you. I'm really sorry, but there are opportunities. If you work on it, if you find the right opportunity, you can do it. Even if it's not a normal occupation, if it's a freelance job, it's still something.
No, it's something like a conflict of information in my from my previous job, and they can, okay, we can propose you or only junior level job because but we can't, because you have so much experience how you can do this job. Yes, if you have something unusual. Lot of thinking for
Yeah, Igor, I'm interested. Where are you currently based?
I have a lot experience, Java, JavaScript, some C++, but I have not so much experience here, but because I start to find directly before this COVID-19 crazy situation. So yeah, it's not a good time for.
Yeah, this is a bad time to find a job. I understand that, it's true.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And Igor, we really sympathize with your situation and what you're
But
currently.
I don't worry about the situation. I found some survival job, and I found that simple handyman in my area can work and can salary 55 and 60 per hour. What is that?
You make much more money than me. Developers in Italy don't make a lot of money, so
Yeah, it's
at least you can be happy about that.
So don't be nervous. You can find this job, that job. So yeah, only concentrate on this view that you won't be a profi. Yes, that's all. Don't worry about it.
Great. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing your insights, Igor. And we appreciate your time. And, hopefully if you're in the Upwardly Global program, you can continue to, benefit from more resources or work with your advisor. And you know that we're always here to support. Looks like we are almost at about time. I will pass it to Yangham. If there are any concluding remarks, we are almost at the time.
Yeah, I just wanted to first thank everyone for attending our webinar, and big thank you to our panelist Federico for sharing such helpful and inspiring information. I really hope that everyone who attended found the information really useful. So we will be sharing out the slides with everyone at the end. So Federico, he said he is open to connecting with all of you. So please feel free to reach out to him on LinkedIn if you have any questions. Yeah, so thank you again, Federico, and everyone for attending. Happy birthday, Federico. And hope everyone else has a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for attending. And yeah, we'll be sharing the slides, as Yangham mentioned. Feel free to follow up with any questions, email your job advisor. We're happy to support and respond to any other questions that you might have.
Thank you again for having me here, and that was great. Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.